Okay, welcome everybody to Wall Street Reporter's Discovery Day live stream, where we bring you those stocks which have that multi-bagger upside potential, just like many of the massive winners we've had in the recent years. And today we are back with Stria Resources, Dean Hanisch. Dean, welcome back to the program.
Thanks for having me. Look forward to it.
Now, Dean, originally we were scheduled to do this yesterday, and from what I understand, you were working on a potential news announcement, and there was a scheduling issue. And now I think you may not have this for another week or so, but there's some you're working on a couple of major projects here, which I don't know if you can talk about it. Or I don't know how much you could talk about right now, but the big news is that look, the lithium sector, the lithium space is on fire, and you really have been very opportunistic about going after some of these really strategic assets in key lithium districts.
Well, I think we're very fortunate to be on the ground. We have a good group and team that we're able to locate a lot of properties and analyze them and really find good properties, because without a good property, really don't have much. And I think that kind of lends us into our specific strategy, which is really we're about taking properties, making sure that they have something there, looking at some general exploration and kind of building it up as we did with our initial one. And then, as you see, we brought in a partner. We're really just about making sure to maximize the opportunities that we have with partners, with successful companies, and then ride the tail with them, and just keep doing that over and over. I mean, it's rinse and repeat for us. We're looking to just do it once, do it twice, do it 3 times, and keep going. And I think as the market gets stronger for lithium, especially North American lithium, based on all the the Inflation's Act and all the money that's being thrown at it, I think it's wise for us to give our shareholders the best chance of holding on to currency and stock of other companies, and having partnerships with other companies, and really keeping our float and our share structure tight. And if you can see, we're very responsible fiscally with our share structure and how we go about getting properties and money and things of that nature. So I think proof's in the pudding, as they say. But I really wanted to apologize for yesterday, because I was hoping to have some news out. I mean, I can't really speak about it.
Can you give us a hint?
I think it's difficult, obviously, with I can't say exactly, but I was hoping to have some good news for you. Hopefully we'll be back on your show, whether it be next week, and we can have a discussion on.
Can you say now, Dean? Can you say now? The question is, you mentioned there's good news. Now the question is, so it's a question of when, not if. So it's a question of the timing. So is it 100% done deal, or like where are we at? Like that's just. Can you give us a hint of that?
I was hoping to have some news to share, and hopefully we'll have some news to share with you shortly, and maybe next week we'll be on a show, but I can't really say.
Okay.
I can't say good news, bad news. We're very excited anyway about the projects that we're involved in. We have a new project which we're excited about. We're going to be hitting the ground at the end of June, doing sampling and things of that nature.
This is the one that you picked up next. This is the one that's right next door that you picked up. Was it just a couple of weeks ago, essentially?
Yeah, that's what we call Pontax 2. Okay. So we're very excited about Pontax 2. I mean, Pontax Central, we've kind of, as people know, there's a resource estimate that'll be coming out. Cygnus Metals, our partner, are very good operators, and we'll be handling that. So I think it was important for us to get another project. And again, like we're just looking to take projects, be very concise, be very fiscally responsible, get them to a certain level, and hopefully we just continue to rinse and repeat as we did the first one.
Okay, so to kind of like for anybody that's new to the story, essentially, you're operating, so Stria, you have this significant lithium project in it was a James Bay, Quebec, right, which is like we call it the Saudi Arabia of lithium. It's right right in Quebec. It's we've had, companies right in that area. The stocks are up, 10x, 20x, 10 times. I think some of them are. I think one of them is up like 2,000% or whatever. I don't know if it's Patriot or the other one that's up like huge, but huge.
Well, there's a number of Patriot, Winsome. I mean, they've been standing
huge.
stock.
Yeah, so this area is producing some huge success, and you have, this really significant project, and most importantly, it's not just you saying it, right? Because we can talk about this a lot, but the reality is, what gives it validation, what gives it, credibility, is that you've brought in a partner who is putting in, what is it, 6 million plus into it. This Australian company, Cygnus, right, which is, has a massive track record in bringing projects. I think they had the gold mining deal, which was, I mean, it's not lithium, but it was a gold mining deal that they took to into production, right? I mean, so
I think it's like 1.6 billion now from like inception. So yeah, I mean, really, the Australians have been the winners, right? If you invested in Australian management-based ASX companies that came to Quebec looking for lithium, they're all the ones that hit it out of the park. I mean, to be honest, Canada and the Canadians have been sleeping in their own backyard. So the part of it is obviously Australians have a lot of experience with and support in their investment circles for lithium, especially hard rock lithium, right? They're experts in that.
Yeah, and I think there's an important distinction when it comes to the whole resource space, right? Which, again, like from everything from, experts who we've had before in the program, some of the, the big mining gurus, one of the things that all these guys always bring up is that, no two, mining projects are alike just because somebody was successful in, I don't know, like a silver mine somewhere, because every the geology is different everywhere. So you really need people who know that geology, who know, who understand how to drill, who have a track record. And it turns out that, the Australians have that expertise, because they've had, they have a similar geological structure, where over there.
Well, I think the biggest thing is the support from the capital markets, right? They've got the support. They're able to raise the money, and they're able to go out and drill multiple holes. They're very, very aggressive. And that's what it takes, because once you know the lithium's there, it's not like gold chasing veins. Like if it's there, it's in the right departments, we're in the right area. If you have the numbers and you're getting consistent numbers and widths, it's not as difficult as people think. It's basically there. You have to continue to drill and you have a resource. So these guys will be pulling out a resource from it. And I think if you miss the Patriots, the Winsomes, and all of these, why am I excited? Because we're in a hot district. And if this district continues as it is, then this is a great opportunity for people, because these other ones, like you said, I mean, Patriot was like at 30 cents. They went to $14, $15. I mean, just do the math. So
yeah,
this is exciting. We're extremely excited. We're in the greatest place that I could think ever you want to be looking for lithium in Quebec, in James Bay, multiple discoveries there, and continued discoveries happening over and over. So that's your risk. We're not going into a new area. We're going into an area that is probably the best place to mine, and with the most incentives from any government to do it.
So let's kind of talk about, kind of your strategy here, because, it's a little different than, a lot of, the other companies out there, a lot of the junior exploration companies, or maybe it's not different, but it may not be different, but, the execution so far is really like, it's on the money. I mean, like you're really been delivering the goods. So the idea is you have a project, you bring in the outside, you bring in expert partners who put up the capital. They get, let's say, whatever it is. Like in this case, I think it was 51% of the deal that they're gonna, or whatever the deal is going to be. Then you take that, you roll into the next deal. So you start with Pontax. We'll call it Pontax 1. We're expecting a resource now in, I guess, next couple of months, right? This from Cygnus, from the drilling, and now you just recently picked up the next door property, which potentially could double essentially, your assets evaluation. And are you going to just keep going? Like, what's the strategy here?
Well, our track record, I think, speaks for itself, right? We spent some money on Pontac Central initially. We drilled it. I think we hit on every hole but one. And that's how we did the deal with Cygnus, because you got to take risk out of projects as well, right? So once they see that there's something there and it's worthwhile, we were able to bring them in, and they knew that they weren't, shooting in the dark. And I think for us, we are a little bit different than other companies, because our model is, again, we will take this exact same project, we will do work on it, we'll make sure that there's lithium there, we'll look for it, we'll find it, and then we'll look again for a partner, and maybe the partner is the same partner. But basically, it's a rinse and repeat, and we'll be focused and continue looking specifically at good projects, spend some money, do it again, bring someone in. If we have to take their currency, we'll take their currency. We'll go from, upgrade from one currency to another currency, right? And I think that's what our shareholders want. If you look at Stria's currency, and maybe we move it up, to US dollars from something else, from dinars, right? That's what people want from us. And the way we are different is we are coming from a bit different background than the average junior mining company. We're very concerned about our share structure. I was an investor. I am an investor. I can't tell you how many companies I've invested in that just massive rollbacks, spend money, flow through, continue. And then all of a sudden it's like you can never get ahead, right? So for us, it's important. We want to be that slingshot. We want to be that when it hits, which it will, when the North American lithium just takes off, everybody's on EV batteries, they're getting funded by the government to do them. We want to be the slingshot. In order for us to be the slingshot, we can't have 100 million shares out, 200, 300.
Yeah.
No, we have 25 million shares out. We have other people spending money. We're going to take a percentage of that. We'll own a percentage, or maybe we'll roll it in, like I said, into their currency, take their currency, and keep doing it, so that we have this basket. So when it hits, bang, you have it, because we've been conservative with our share structure. We still have to spend money, but we're going to be conservative about what we do. And we want to keep our share structure tight so the stock can actually move. So this isn't something, if you want to buy this, turn around and dump it tomorrow, I would, no one really likes that, but I don't think that's the best value for the stock, because we have a different model. And the model you can see, just go back for the last year and see how we operate.
Yeah. So the valuation right now is around, we're at around $5 million, 25 million shares, stock is 20 cents Canadian about. And here's the thing, like every day there's more and more, like we're seeing this, exploding demand for lithium. I just read an article, I think this was about the Toyota it was about one of the manufacturers, and one of the things that was brought up is that everybody, it's what's, you have all these governments around the world are really pushing for this transition to EVs. And what they're saying is, we're going to need like 300 lithium mines in the next few years. I don't know how many there are now, but there's not 300, but we're going to need like 300, for these batteries. And that's just, the cars, that's just cars. We're not even talking about, like everything else out there that has to, go into this, electrification. We're not talking about, commercial. We're not talking about trucks and none of that stuff. I mean, now they're even talking about boats, right? There's this company that's, I just saw a guy was talking about, which is, they're doing these battery powered, recreational boats. So it's something we're still, like, even though we've had a couple of these early, and again, anytime you have a major kind of generational bull market, you always have a couple of stocks early on, they explode and everybody thinks, okay, that's it. Like Patriot Metal is up, had a massive gain. Everybody thinks, okay, that's it. No, we're really like probably, I don't think we're even in the first inning of, the lithium boom. And, I think that, and this is something that's of interest to not just, here's the thing, I think that Stria should be of interest, not just to mining and, the natural resource investors, but really anybody who's a tech investor, anybody who's trading EV stocks, whether it's Tesla, Neo, whatever, Lucid, whatever it is. At the end of the day, you want. We don't know who the real winners are going to be in the in the EV race, right? Like, I think in the Wall Street Journal today, there's an article about what's happening in China, right? Like, all of a sudden, there's countless EV companies, because they're all copycats, right? There's countless, and the quality has caught up. I think there was a saying that the Western car manufacturers, they came there and they were like blown away because the quality is off the charts. Like, the way the doors close, the way the set. I mean, it's basically the quality is amazing. So at the end of the day, we don't know who the winners are going to be in the EV space, right? But we do know that they will all need lithium. It's sort of like in the San Francisco gold rush, California gold rush. The guys who made the money were the guys selling the picks and shovels and the pans. It wasn't so much the miners. I mean, it was even like, look today, who's left from that early gold rush? It's Levi's jeans, right? That was because they were selling these jeans or overalls and they're still around. This is 200 years later. Levi's, everybody's wearing Levi's. What happened to the guys who, the guys who made, who no, they've been forgotten. So we don't know who the winners are going to be in the, in the EV space, but we do know that the lithium miners, it's a sure thing. I mean, of all things, I mean, I don't know if I'm allowed to say a sure thing, but it's obvious. It's obvious that lithium, I mean, I think I am allowed to say that lithium is a sure thing. I mean, it's like saying that electricity is a sure thing. I mean,
Well, what I would add to that is, I'd ask anybody out there who's investing, right? Do you wish you invested into the internet? I mean, I think everyone would say yes. Why? Because it was a generational, once in a lifetime shift. Okay. It's almost as big as like the Industrial Revolution or agriculture. The first time, people started planting food and staying in one place. Like when you have a major paradigm shift, okay, so you're now being told by your governments, we're switching to electronic vehicles. It has to happen. Here are the dates. It's happening. Whether they make the date lines, on time, or if it's delayed a little bit, it's happening. If you could actually imagine thinking that all the cars that you look on the road right now, they have to be electric, right? They're going to have to be electric. This is massive. Now, what do they run on? Well, they don't run on oil. Okay, so what do they run on? They run on batteries. Well, how do they run on batteries? You need critical minerals. Well, what's one of the biggest things you need? Lithium. Okay, so you don't need oil, you need lithium. Okay, so if you're forcing people to do something, so, when you say it's a sure thing, the government has said it's a sure thing. Okay, so
right, it's not me saying
it's not a bigger power than that. The government said it.
Trudeau saying
it, right? Yeah. So there's your demand. So Jack, that's your demand. The government saying you're doing this. I don't care. This is happening. Okay, go look at all the 300 million cars on the United States. It's happening. Okay, so there's your demand. Then the government saying, we want to make sure we have the supply of these minerals. We don't have them all in our country. We better get them. Who has them? Canada has them. Quebec has them. Okay, Biden came up here to Canada to make sure, forge relationships, and is willing to support the Canadian companies. The Canadian government's throwing billions of dollars to attract the batteries companies to put things into production quicker. They're all changing because they want independence. They want to make sure that they're going to be the leaders in the world for, the technology within batteries and that. So it doesn't even matter what to me, the lithium price you can dump it over in another country. But if you're being paid, so if I'm the government, you're telling me, hey, Dean, I need you to go, if you buy Lay's chips for every one you buy, instead of Hostess, I'm going to give you $5. Well, I'll tell you which one I'm going to buy, right? So eventually it doesn't matter. They need it. So you've got the government demand, you've got the government supporting the supply with real dollars. The only person who's not in, Jack, is the investor. The Canadians, the Americans, the Australians made out like bandits already because they get it. They're on the ASX. They have lithium. The Patriots, the Winsomes. I mean, guys, there's guys retiring now, setting up their own home offices because they invested in Patriot. That's a real story. Okay.
Yeah.
That's a real story. Quitting their jobs, family office now, because they got it. They got in. I think it's the first inning, second inning. But the only person not in, government's in. The only person that's not in is us.
And by the way, I think this is the opportunity, because like anytime you have a market, like anytime you have a hot market, let's say, or for a stock, for example, right? If everybody knows about it, if everybody's in it, then who's left to buy it, right? That's when things top out. But when you have a situation where you have people that are not in it yet, there's this massive untapped demand. And I think where I think the opportunity for lithium is, and for Stria in particular, the whole space kind of, particularly in James Bay. Now I'm talking about specifically about, companies with real projects, that have real drilling results, that are getting close to a resource, like what you have, like real companies, not like, some of these, mining stores, that, real companies that have something for real, right? Those companies, I think those stocks are going to do exceptionally well once the mainstream investor, because the mainstream U.S. investor hasn't picked up on this yet, and that's why you have this massive opportunity. When they do, I think some of these stocks can go like bananas. I mean, really, because again, it's still, I mean, even with stories like Patriot that are up, I don't know, 10, 20, whatever the numbers are, nobody really in the U.S. really knows about it yet, right? It's sort of like
I think
sleeping it.
You're right.
And when they wake up, it's the FOMO, the whole, it's just the market psychology. This is just the way the markets work. And again, one of the things I always say is, look, I think it's a great thing when a stock has, doubters and haters, or the main thing is long, because those people, they're going to come back as buyers. Once they see the news flow, once they see stocks, they come in as buyers. If everybody loves a stock right out of the gate, who's left to buy it, right? So this is why I think, and in the case of, I think with Stria, we're still in the early stages. I think once investors kind of catch on to what you're doing, kind of the approach that you have to building shareholder value, you start with this one project, you bring in the partners, you pick up the next project at a really opportunistic terms, and potentially, I don't know, you might be looking at a third deal. I don't know. I mean, you haven't said it, but it could be. I have no idea. But I'm assuming that this is, again, like, I'm just picking up on the hints. You're kind of, I don't know if I'm reading into it too much, but it seems to me like you're going to be applying this kind of cookie cutter approach to kind of, I don't know if the word is, to kind of let this thing snowball. And all of a sudden, you might have, I mean, Stria could end up under, like, right underneath everybody's nose as like a major lithium player in the James Bay area. Again, the Saudi
We're going to have a resource estimate out, right? And if resource estimates don't lie, right? So that's one of them. The other thing is that, I think, like, we're in a position, it's going to hit, and we can get there. Like I said, our float is tight. We have money in the bank. We're prudent. But one of the things that's important is that, we're not here just to tell stories about lithium, and, like, see companies, they're here, they're there, but, like, we are not only in the best district, but the reason that we're in the district we haven't mentioned as well is that they're building a full, plants, a complete battery park in Bécancour, Quebec. Everything's going to be shipped there. We're near the road. It's also important as you go forward that you can actually take your stuff out and get it there.
Oh, the infrastructure. Yeah.
It's not that difficult. We just have to get it to a certain point, get it on rails, and get it out. So we are we're probably one of the most favorable locations to get anything out. And even our property that we just picked up, it's adjacent to the road. So we're very fortunate. The other thing I would say as well is that, if you're in the right area and you have the right partners and the government and everyone else supporting it, it's mainly just a matter of time that you just wait until it hits. We just have to be, do what we're good at. We can't control the market, but what we can control is doing the right thing.
Dean, we're really out of time. I just want, if you can just, we have one audience question, if we can address it. And I want to come back to you next week. I think we're waiting for some news next week. We'll have you back, but can you address this? How would you rate the significance of Stria's first assay results?
You mean the very first ones from the very beginning, years ago?
I think
I would say that, yeah. So the initial results were great. Like I said, we hit on like, I think 10 out of 11 holes. The numbers were good. The best hole, I think, was 1.16 over 23 meters. The holes that are being hit now with Cygnus, again, they're all in the money. They're where those grades, if you look at the grades of the people like Alchem and Galaxy and Sayona and the ones that are going into production, a lot of those grades, those are the type of grades that you're looking for. So I think we're in the money so far. So we're excited about when we get the resource estimate, what it looks like.
Okay. Dean, we're out of time. Let's get you back on next week. And Brad, please come back next week with the questions. We'll see you on the next one. Dean, thank you again.
Great. Thanks. Appreciate it.
Thanks for joining. We'll see you in the next one.
Take care.